Every economic system that has any record in human history shows us the same pattern. Whether it's the ancient village, the slave system, the feudal system, capitalism, they all show the same pattern. They're born out of a different system's collapse. They evolve and change over time, and then they die away to give rise to yet another system. So there's no question that capitalism is just like all the systems that went before it. It was born, we know that. It evolved over time. Well, it's done that for 3 or 4 centuries. You know what the next and final step is? It passes away. The issue isn't whether capitalism passes away. The only question is when and maybe how. And for us, we look at the events of capitalism now and we see lots of signs that it's in deep trouble. Whether you look at the damage it has done to the environment that it refuses to take responsibility for reversing, that's one big one. These cyclical breakdowns that I've talked about, the business cycle, if you want to be polite, the boom-bust cycle, which is more accurate, that is now at a level where, look what we've just put through, the American working class through. 2020, they had the pandemic. 2021, a crash of our economy second only to the Great Depression. 21, 22, an inflation driving people crazy, and all we're talking about as a nation now is when the recession will come later this year or early next. You cannot treat your working class in this unspeakable way, pandemic, crash, inflation, recession, and not expect them to begin to question, why are we allowing a system that's going down to take us down with it?
Capitalism does not work. When you look at the world around you today, when you look at the climate destabilization that we're facing massive and rising inequality, which is going to lead to totalitarianism. Because when 40 or 30 or 20 people have more wealth than half the planet's population, how can that ever lead to a democratic situation? This is all because we have a dysfunctional economic system. Capitalism does not have a solution to our problems. This system is incompatible with nature and is also incompatible with the human condition. The point is that the purpose of a system is what it does, not what it is meant to supposedly do. And if capitalism was going to allow for equality, allow for the majority of the population, everybody to do well, it would have done it a long time ago. Okay, this system's been around for 12,000 years and it hasn't done that. It's only got worse.
This system is more wasteful than all the other existing systems in the history of the planet. Every level of life organization and life system is in a state of crisis and challenge and decay or collapse. No peer-reviewed journal in the last 30 years will tell you anything different. That is that every life system is in decline, as well as social programs, as well as our water access. Try to name any means of life that isn't threatened and in danger. You can't. There really isn't one, and that's very, very despairing. But we haven't even figured out the causal mechanism. We don't want to face the causal mechanism. We just want to go on, that's what insanity is, where you keep doing the same thing over and over again, though it clearly doesn't work. So you're really dealing with not an economic system, but I would go so far as to say an anti-economic system.
When it comes to sustainability, there are 2 realms of focus that we need to talk about. Part 1 is environmental sustainability, which is basically resource efficiency, how we can efficiently utilize resources to provide a high standard of living to the entire population without having resource overshoots, shortages, and also not abusing nature. We need to make sure that the technology we're using does not have negative retroactions, such as pollution. And 2 is going to be cultural sustainability, which comes down to our beliefs and values. comes down to having the right kind of understanding of the environment that we need to create to make sure that we reduce conflict between people. Modern social science has shown us, for example, that inequality is highly destabilizing to society.
So she gives a rock to us, that's the task. And we give her a piece of cucumber and she eats it. And she gets a grape. And she gives a rock to us now, gets again cucumber.
Inequality is toxic. It's a social poison. So what we should be doing is striving to create a society that actually reduces inequality as much as possible, if not eliminates it altogether. In the 21st century right now, there's absolutely no reason for someone to be working as a waiter or a cashier, pulling a lever for 8 to 9 hours a day, wasting the best years of their life on a job that can easily be automated. Machine automation is the true emancipation proclamation for humanity. The exploitation of labor has been the greatest oppressive force throughout history. The grueling and brutal nature of work should be given to machines so humans can actually free up their faculties and pursue the greater things in life. Every single person has a great capacity for creativity and problem solving that has not been utilized. Our economy, again, has no solution with automation other than keep creating more and more fake jobs to keep people occupied. Because again, this system needs wage slaves to keep it going.
We should be focusing on doing the things that machines can't do, such as the conception of new ideas. And I'm not saying for people to stop what they're doing and be lazy and do nothing all day. No, there's a lot of real work that needs to be done. Real work, such as using human creativity and ingenuity to meet the demands of an ever-changing world and to push the frontier of human civilization into the future.
The notion of private property is highly dehumanizing because those who don't have money to afford the necessities of life will be kept away from those things. Property is a highly wasteful concept. Think about the idea of every single person on this planet owning a car. 85% of a car's lifespan is spent sitting somewhere, not being used. If we combine a system of access with automation, guess what? A self-driving car can be used, maybe you can utilize an app, have a car pick you up, drop you off somewhere, so that way we can need less cars to provide the service of transportation to many more people. And eventually, move away from that to holistic transportation without the need to utilize so much resources and energy to create cars. Property is highly wasteful, every person having one of everything. You want to move away from that because at the end of the day, what you want is not to own things, but rather have access to those resources. The notion that anyone should have ownership over an idea is ludicrous. All information is serially developed, meaning many people throughout history have contributed to a certain idea to help it grow and transform over time.
While there is a kind of common sense that ideas should be shared because more minds are better than one if strategically organized, the market economy does not like this and moves against this explicitly under the umbrella of preserving private intellectual property for the sake of future income and profits by the owners. This deeply inhibits intellectual development.
The collective contribution of many, many people is always better than some corporate hierarchy, the corporate circle where everyone's hiding information from each other, competing for market share. It's a childish notion, okay? So again, moving away from intellectual property to open source. We need to move away from globalization to a system of localization, where we try to localize as much as possible. Globalization, this process of exploiting labor just for the sake of profits, which destroys people's lives and wastes resources, is a hideous process that simply exists to enrich the already wealthy and powerful. The idea that we have to grow avocados in Mexico and ship it to California, when we can actually easily grow avocados and whatever we want in America, right? And if we can't do it conventional farming, we can do it hydroponic, aeroponic, vertical farms. There are many different ways of doing things in a local setting. That's what the whole purpose of localization is. It's beautiful, it's resource saving, it's time saving, and it does not exploit resources at the cost of the environment. We need to move away from the market mechanism, right? Market signaling, or the invisible hand of the market. Move away from that to a process of networked, digitized feedback. If we have a process, a feedback mechanism, where we use sustainability, recycling, and efficiency protocols, basically a glorified calculator, a glorified computer that takes in information and it gives you feedback on whether a certain decision is right to make or not, that allows us to really have a true participatory democracy. Basically, any economic decision that we want to make can be arrived at using the process of science.
It goes without saying that active feedback is integral to proper economic understanding and unfolding. Knowing what's going on in near real time will allow for rapid awareness of economic problems. Modern technology will allow society to move away from price reliance, and in many cases, as abundance is generated, away in fact from trade itself. There is no reason to trade in a condition of general abundance. Through real-time, networked, strategic economic management through feedback, we can easily figure out what's going on and what's needed, what needs to be corrected, and so on.
I love that term, demarketization, because if we understand that the market system is the greatest source of suffering and death on this planet, any factor that is a diametrical opposite of market attributes is basically something that we should be pursuing.
I want you to try and imagine a world without money. A world that doesn't use money at all. No banks, no cash, no wages, no bills, no money of any kind whatsoever. A deliberate decision to stop using money would actually make our lives many times better than they are now. Believe it or not, our planet has plenty of resources to provide for everyone. The only thing we're short of, it seems, is money. Making our world free would unleash our full technical potential, allow us to tap into clean energy sources, bring meaningful prosperity and knowledge all across the world, and even put an end to war and injustice forever. Just imagine food produced to the highest standards in plentiful supply, bigger, better hospitals and schools with no budget problems, clean energy and communications available to everyone. Take away cost, and the only limit is our imagination and the raw materials needed to make whatever we want. A free world without money, where everything is free, where you are free, where we can provide for everyone and finally see an end to starvation and poverty, where society is as fair as it possibly can be. And it's all possible now, if we choose it.